Chapter 6. Many costs must be monitored and managed in order to run a successful food service operation. Among the most significant costs of a food service operation are food and beverage costs. In order to calculate appropriate menu prices, the cost to prepare the menu items must be known. It is also important to know how food and beverage costs are used to help calculate menu prices and how customer perceptions influence menu pricing. An as-purchased cost is the amount paid for a product in the form it was ordered and received. The as-purchased costs for food and beverage products are documented on invoices. An invoice is a document provided by a supplier that lists the item amounts delivered to a food service operation and the prices of those items. When a product is purchased in bulk, it is often necessary to calculate a unit cost based on the as-purchased cost. A unit cost is the cost of a product per unit of measure. Unit costs can be based on weight, volume, or count. The as-purchased unit cost is a unit cost of a food item based on the form in which it is ordered and received. The unit of measure used to calculate a unit cost should be based on how the product is used in recipes. Calculating an as-purchased unit's cost, you take the AT, the as-purchased total cost, divided by the NU, the number of units, which gives you the answer of the AC, the as-purchased unit cost. The edible portion unit cost is the unit cost of a food or beverage item after taking into account the cost of the unused parts generated by trimming. Unless a food item has a yield percentage, a YP of 100%, the edible portion unit cost will always be higher than the as-purchased unit cost. The ingredient amounts provided in a recipe are the edible portion amounts, the EP. The total cost of an ingredient in a recipe can be calculated by multiplying the edible portion, the EP, amounts by the edible portion unit cost for each ingredient. When calculating the edible portion unit cost of an ingredient, the unit of measure of the edible portion amount and the as-purchased unit cost must be the same. Calculating edible portion unit cost. You take the AC, as purchased unit cost, divided by the YP, the yield percentage, gives you the EC, the edible portion unit cost. Once the cost of the individual ingredients in a recipe are calculated, the costs are added to determine the total cost of the recipe. Then, as-served costs for the recipe can be calculated. An as-served cost is the cost of a menu item as it is served to the customer. To calculate the as-served cost of a menu item that is prepared in large quantities and then portioned into servings, the total cost of the recipe is divided by the number of portions the recipe yields. The as-served cost of a beverage menu item is calculated in exactly the same way as the as-served cost of a food menu item. A cost percentage is a percentage that indicates how the cost of food or beverages relate to the menu prices and sales of a food service operation. There are three types of cost percentages used in the food service and industry. A menu item cost percentage is the as-served cost of a menu item divided by the menu price and written as a percent. An overall cost percentage is the total amount of money a food service operation spends on food and beverages divided by the total food and beverage sales over a defined period of time, written as a percent. A target cost percentage is the percentage of food or beverage sales that a food service operation plans to spend on purchasing food or beverages. A food service operation earns money by charging more for items on a menu than it costs to prepare for those items. Therefore, the menu price is always higher than the as-served cost of that item. Since a menu item cost percentage is equal to the as-served cost divided by the menu price, a menu item cost percentage will always be less than 100. Calculating menu item cost percentage. You can take the AS, the as-served cost, divided by the MP, the menu price, and that gives you the answer of menu item cost percentage. An overall cost percentage is equal to the total amount of money a food service operation spends on food and beverages, divided by its total food and beverage sales over a defined period of time. It is common for a food service operation to establish a target cost percentage for the operation. A target cost percentage is the percentage of total food and beverage sales that a food service operation plans to spend. Food service workers and managers regularly compare overall cost percentages with target cost percentages to determine if the food and beverage costs are higher or lower than planned. When the overall cost percentage of a food service operation is lower than the target cost percentage, the operation has earned more money than planned. Calculating overall cost percentage. You take the TC, the total food and beverage cost, divided by the TS, the total food and beverage sales, and that answer is a percentage, which is your overall cost percentage. Food and beverage cost percentage pricing begins by calculating a target price for each menu item. A target price is the price that a food service operation needs to charge for a menu item in order to meet its target and cost percentage. Some food service operations will stop after calculating target price and set the menu price equal to the target price. However, most food service operations tend to consider target prices as a starting point and then adjust the price up or down based on how management thinks consumers will perceive the price. Calculating target price. You take the AS, as-served cost, divided by the T%, the target cost percentage, which gives you the answer of the TP, which is the target price. Many food service operations use a combination of cost percentage pricing and perceived value pricing to determine the final prices on a menu. Perceived value pricing is the process of adjusting a target menu price based on how the management thinks a consumer will perceive the price. There are two aspects to perceived pricing value. The first involves adjusting a target price to look like a price a customer have become used to seeing on menus. Therefore, the actual cost percentage of the menu item will be slightly higher or lower than the target cost percentage. The second aspect of perceived value pricing involves adjusting a target price so that the customers will view the price as reasonable relative to other items on the menu and similar items sold elsewhere. A lower menu item cost percentage means that the food service operation earns more on each order of that food item that is sold. It is normal for these items on a menu to have different cost percentages, as long as there is a proper balance on a menu between items with lowest cost percentage and items with higher cost percentages. The food service operation can maintain an overall cost percentage that is close or equal to its target cost percent. A contribution margin is the amount added to the as-served cost of a menu item to determine a menu price. A food service operation calculates prices with a contributed margin to ensure that the amount of money made on each serving of food or beverage will cover expenses and still result in a profit. This type of pricing is not common in restaurants, but it is often used when calculating a price charge per person for a special event. A pricing form is a tool often used to help calculate the as-served cost of a menu item and establish a menu price. The procedure for using a pricing form is as follows. Number 1, enter information from the standardized recipe, including the menu item name, number of portions, ingredients, and edible portion amounts. Number 2, record the as-purchased unit cost of each ingredient. It is necessary to convert the unit cost to the same unit of measure as used in the edible portion amount. Number 3, record the yield percentage for each ingredient. Number 4, calculate the edible portion unit cost by dividing the as-purchased unit cost of each ingredient by the yield percentage of the ingredient. 5, calculate the total cost of each ingredient by multiplying the edible portion amount of each ingredient by the edible portion unit cost of each ingredient. Number 6, calculate the total cost by adding the cost of each ingredient. Number 7, calculate the total cost per portion by dividing the total recipe cost by the number of portions. 8, calculate the target price by dividing the total cost by the target cost percentage. 9, adjust the target price if desired and record the menu price. 10, calculate the total cost percentage by dividing the cost per portion by the menu price. After a pricing form has been completed for all of the items on a menu, The food service operation updates the pricing forms when the cost of ingredients change to ensure that the menu prices are adjusted as needed.